Hi, my name is Caitlin Holman, and I've decided to prepare the video instead of a written piece to kind of talk about the concepts and theories that go into experience design and creating a good life. So, I just kind of wanted to start out with a couple of things that have especially impacted me and then how I've seen them in my own life and been trying to incorporate them. So, the first concept that I learned about was the hedonic treadmill. And that was kind of the main thing that one of the big things that really stuck out to me was that you have this kind of baseline level of happiness that you will adjust back to regardless of good experiences or bad experiences that happen in your life. So I just kind of wanted to share a couple of examples for that. One of them, I in the past couple of years, I got in a pretty bad car accident. And obviously, at the start, it was pretty devastating. I was just heading into my senior season of tennis, and I broke my arm. I had to have surgery. So it was like a major setback. It was really disappointing. And there were a lot of like really sad things that went into play with that. But after just a couple of months, even a couple of weeks, I was kind of back to just my optimistic, happy self. Obviously, there were still some drawbacks from that, but overall, I had this base level of my happiness. And then, kind of a good example of that, or depending on how you look at it, maybe bad. When I moved in or moved out of my parents' house, I wasn't super excited to leave them, but I was really excited to kind of live on my own and have this experience. And at first, it was like the coolest thing ever. It was so fun to just be out on my own. And obviously, it's still super cool. I love living here on campus at BYU, but it was very easy to now get used to just like having all these things. And I realized the other day, after doing some things with some girls in my hallway, that there are these people and these amazing resources that I have around me that I've been taking for granted because they're so accessible. And so that's just one of the examples. But the hedonic treadmill is super interesting because we do have a set level of happiness. And though there are things that we can do to change that level, bad things and good things that happen to us, it's kind of reassuring to know that we'll hit a base level of happiness. So another concept that I really kind of wanted to touch on was just this idea that like we are very much in control of our happiness. We talk about the kind of pie chart of what determines our happiness. 50% is kind of hereditary, like we have this base level of happiness that was talked about before. 10% is our circumstances, and then 40% is things that are voluntary, they're in our control, available for us that we can change. And in reading about it, it's just been super interesting because we really can redefine ourselves. I just wanted to read a couple of things that I found in the reading. This one says, if you're not happy today, then you won't be happy tomorrow unless you take things into your own hands and take action. So, just this idea of not waiting around to be happy. I feel like oftentimes, especially in the church, we have been taught this, like you shouldn't wait to be happy, be able to find joy in the moment and be happy now. But it is a very hard sometimes to not just always wish for the next thing and the next thing. An example in my life is kind of going back to the moving out thing. I was always like, oh, it'll be so good when I moved out, it'll be so fun. And then I moved out and it was great. And then lately I've been catching myself kind of thinking, oh, I can't wait till I have a kitchen, because right now I'm in Helaman Halls and I love to cook and there's no kitchen. And so I'm just like, oh, once I have a kitchen, it's going to be so great. And once I finally get to go on my mission, it'll be so great. Once I know where I'm going on my mission, once I get into the accounting program, so many things go on in my brain. And it's obviously very important to look forward to those things, but super, super important to make sure that I'm here right now and being in the present, because that's where I can be most happy, is just by looking now and trying to focus on the things that I can do now, like looking outwards and serving others, where I can find the most joy in my life. And then the last topic that I kind of wanted to talk about was that a lot of the 40% of the voluntary actions that we can take to help ourselves become happier, a lot of that is determined by our, like, how we see things objectively. And so in the presentations and the reading, it kind of talks about how your happiness is not determined by your actual health, but by your objective health, and not by your actual societal beauty, but by your objective beauty, how you see yourself, if you see yourself as healthy or beautiful. And self-confidence has kind of been sometimes hard for me, sometimes a little bit better, but that really struck me because I was like, oh my gosh, if I can really change the way that I see myself about my health, about my beauty, and so many other things, if I can see myself as beautiful and successful and, in that type of way, that can increase my happiness much more than if I were to try and change myself to actually, I guess in the sense of beauty, to try and change myself to fit societal standards. If maybe I get to that point, I still don't see myself as beautiful, that's not really going to change my happiness level. And so I just think it's so cool that we have so much control over our happiness, and it's amazing the different ways that we can do it. So yeah, that is my presentation. I really enjoyed taking this class, and I am super excited to learn more about what this class has in store, and it's definitely helped me to try and just live a more fulfilling and more eternal perspective life, and then just try and look outside myself a little bit more every day and do the things that are going to make me happy, because I know, and as it talks about in the readings, you can't find happiness by looking inward. The biggest irony that it talks about is that you have to not focus on yourself if you want yourself to become happier. And so anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and thanks.